We're here at Fastnet Film Festival, and I'm with Jake Zappia, who's a young filmmaker, and you have a film in the festival. Jake, do you want to tell me about it?
I do have a film in the festival called Volti Familiari. It's a film I made for my last year of my university in Adelaide in Australia, and it's the first time it's been selected in any international festival, so I came over to Fastnet Short Film Festival to see how it would run in its first festival.
And what are the themes in your film? What's your film about?
So it's about a grandfather who has Alzheimer's, and he doesn't remember his granddaughter anymore, and after his wife passes away, the granddaughter needs to take care of him and doesn't feel comfortable doing so because he doesn't remember who she is, and it goes from there.
There's a kind of a strong undercurrent of, they're émigrés, aren't they? They're Italian people living in Australia. Is that something that's kind of autobiographical?
They are. So my family, both sets of my grandparents on both sides came over from Italy in the 1950s and immigrated to Australia then. And so now there's a bit of a subculture in certain parts of the city and certain parts of the country where their children and grandchildren are now there, and there's first and second generation Australian citizens, and there's an interesting subculture in of itself of a fantastic group of people, and Italian Australian culture is something. It's a subculture of itself. It's fantastic.
I've been asking people, are they planning on going to any of the industry events? I suppose you don't have time to do that?
I've been going to the industry events and standing in the back and getting in most things for free, and just watching and not asking or any questions or getting involved too much because I'm supposed to be working. But yeah, I'm getting to as much as I can, and there's some fantastic things going on. This morning the Producers Forum was so beneficial. It was really good.
Actually, maybe that's something that I might ask you about, because you did a slightly unusual thing and you volunteered for the festival so that you could be here, didn't you? Do you want to just explain that to us?
Yeah, well, I came over from Australia, and in order to get over here I had to fulfill a couple of things in order to get some grant money, because I couldn't afford to come over in the festival with just the money I had. So I have to give a presentation as a part of that, and I got my flights paid for through a grant in Australia, and also I volunteered for the festival, and in exchange they gave me accommodation for that, so I'm living up here for the week for free and helping out, and I think I wouldn't rather do it any other way. I think if I was here just enjoying the festival, I wouldn't get to meet nearly as many people or have nearly as good a time as volunteering and actually getting to meet everyone and shake hands with some fantastic people and be a real part of the festival.
Have you been impressed with the quality of some of the other shorts here? Have you seen a lot of them?
I have. There's some films of tremendous quality here. There's some great stuff. I'm really enjoying it, and the different array, going all the way from sort of documentary stuff, and I mean, when you're talking about shorts, it's hard to do short documentary, and then going through to fiction or horror or sci-fi, or we saw some really interesting films, and a lot of the Irish films and a lot of that culture that I'm not used to and is very sort of different to me is just fantastic to take in, because I'm learning every day more about the country that I'm in, and the films are a big part of that.
What's the best thing about your film?
That it's brought me here. That's the best thing about it. It's not about the film itself, it's about the experience that it allows me to have, and I guess that's kind of why I want to be a filmmaker.
What's the worst thing about your film?
The worst thing about my film is the fact that I can't watch it without nitpicking all the little bits that I know are wrong with it, and I cringe at a few things every time I watch it, and I'm still getting used to that. I think that's the worst part, is I have to learn to just, it's done, and just let it be as it is.
Thanks very much, Jake, and enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm here in Fastnet Film Festival with Miles O'Reilly. Miles, you're a filmmaker. Would you tell me a little bit about your work?
I'm commissioned by artists to provide online video content, so I make a lot of music videos, and that in the last 5 years that's branched into documentaries as well, so 10 to 15 to 20 minute documentaries about musicians and their travels and their life and their gigs. Most importantly, all the films I make are just music the whole way through. And I tell the story of the musician kind of with cutaways throughout the music performance. So you get live music performance and a little taste of what's going on in their lives.
What kind of musicians have you worked with?
Recently, James Vincent McMorrow, Villagers, Glenn Hansard, Lisa Hannigan, David Gray I'm touring with at the minute. They'd be quite recent. I've had some fun times with international artists. I went over to Iceland twice and soaked in a whole lot of Iceland artists. I was in Sigur Ros's studio, which is quite incredible, and I love Icelanders because they're sandwiched in between two continents that mass produce pop music. And there's a formula there, there's a verse-chorus formula from Britain and from the States that's been there for 50 years that I think every other country in the world has kind of ditched their indigenous intent kind of to copy the formula of these two massive continents that are polluting the world with pop music. And it kind of takes away from the cultural identity or the music identity of a country, and they ignore their folk music and they ignore the history of music that they've had, and they don't incorporate it. Iceland will be one of the ones that keep their folk music scales in their music, even though now they do electronica, a lot of electronica and a lot of avant-garde, but they still have their folk scales.
So it sounds like a pretty exciting place for you then.
It's incredible, yeah, because the music's just so real, and I mean the music is a complete reflection of their atmosphere and their landscape. So there's nothing better than driving around Iceland listening to Sigur Rós or Asgeir.
How about this festival here? Have you attended it many times? Have you submitted things to it, or?
No, I've not submitted anything. I don't submit to festivals. I'm not in the film industry. I'm in the music industry. All my connections. For 10 years, I was signed to labels, 2 different labels, Sony and Virgin, and I put out albums, and I did quite well for myself here in Ireland. So all the connections I forged in the music industry and the path that I walked, it's the exact same now. I've just picked up a camera and I facilitate for the musicians, and I observe them, and I don't try and be one. It kind of went against my nature to try and voice my opinions about things and lyrics, and so now I just observe and I walk the same path and I meet the same people, and I'm very familiar with it. People here ask me, do you know like John Gallagher, or do you know Tom Collins or Pat Collins? I don't know these people. I don't know anybody in the film industry, to be honest. But it's nice to learn from them, actually. A lot of people here are going, when are you doing fiction? I don't think I'll ever do fiction unless the actors are improvising and I can improvise around them.
That's something that's very easy. That's a style of filmmaking that's come on in leaps and bounds, like especially advents in, obviously digital has had an enormous impact on that. It's becoming more and more easy to do, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. I had a nice experience making a music video where the actors were had their actions down, and I could just, instead of following a shot list, I did what I do anyway, and I just kind of hid and snuck around them and improvised with the camera around them. I think that's maybe hopefully there's a movement in fiction filmmakers that I can get on that train.
And I've seen you up and down here, you're putting something together for Fastnet. Will you tell me about that?
Yeah. Well, Pauline had me down last year and showed a few of my films, and I spoke about them, and I felt honoured. It was great. And she treated me so well, and I had such a great experience here that I just had to come back and repay her. I'm filming around, and there's a gig on tonight, and I'm going to make something of the music from that gig and the festival, and give Pauline some kind of a promo that she can use next year. It's all about the massive hamper with all the gorgeous food she gave me last year. So yeah, I'm repaying.
Great. And a lot of filmmakers down here, very much like it's very kind of industry friendly, kind of a little festival. Are you getting to go and see any of the talks or see any of the films?
No, I'm kind of transient. I'm popping in and out of places. I'm trying to catch a feel of the place, so I'm not staying too long in any one place. I was up looking at the animators today, and that's brilliant. I did animation in college, and then I quit 3 months in because I just didn't have the patience. Then now with digital animation, it just seems like it's 10 times faster, and you're able to visualize things much quicker and get satisfaction much quicker from it. So it's interesting to watch them.
Great. Okay, well, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thanks very much. You too.
I'm here at Fastnet Film Festival with filmmaker Jason Keane. Jason, you have a short film in the festival. Can you tell us about it?
I do. It's called Keane, which is Irish for Little Cork. It's a tilt-shift time-lapse film of Cork City, which makes everything look miniaturised. So it's of various views of Cork City and Harbour, and so I went around and I shot last summer at all these different locations. Then I brought the footage home. I sped it up. I applied a kind of a blurring mask, and then I oversaturated the images to make everything look toy-like. So when it's sped up and it's oversaturated, everything looks miniaturised and toy-like. So you see landmarks like Shandon and the North Cathedral and the city centre and boats in the harbour. So yeah, it's about 4.5 minutes. So if you haven't seen it, check it out.
And your film has been something of a YouTube phenomenon as well, hasn't it? It's garnered quite a lot of hits.
I put it up on Vimeo, and it got something like 20,000 hits in 4 days, and it got covered on the Irish Examiner and Joe.ie and Broadsheet.ie, all those social media and news websites. So it got great coverage, and it just exploded on the internet. So I was very surprised and happy about that. Yeah.
So you're in the happy situation of being here with something that you know is a very popular film. That must feel good.
Well, yes, it's great. It's great for more people to have the chance to see the film. I'm sure most people have probably seen it by now, but it's nice for new people to see it here now in Skull as well, you know.
And how about the industry events and there's a lot of workshops and stuff like that. Have you been to any, or are you going to go?
I haven't been to any yet, but I'm looking forward to the Directors Forum on tomorrow morning with Brian Dean, Jim Sheridan and Jack Gold and Stephen Frears. Stephen Frears is actually one of my favourite directors, so I can't wait to meet him.
And just the general thing around here, I mean, it just seems to be a lot of filmmakers gathered in one small town.
It's for me, it's one of the best festivals of the year. It's always a highlight of the festival calendar because it's a nice small location, so everyone is socialising together. I mean, at other festivals, people are brought in, the guest speakers are brought in, they do their thing, and then they're brought away, and you get no chance really to talk to them or to ask them questions. But here, it's a small village, and everyone is eating and drinking together, and you're rubbing shoulders, having a pint with Steve Coogan or Greg Dyke or Jack Gold. It's a great opportunity to meet these legends of the film industry and have an old chat with them.
What is the best thing about your film?
The best thing about my film. As in,
just blow your own trumpet. Just what is the best thing about your film?
Well, for me, I've always been a fan of tilt-shift time-lapse videos, and I was surprised that no one had ever made one of Cork. So I was determined to be the first guy in Cork to make a tilt-shift time-lapse video.
So you must be proud of that.
Yes.
And what's the worst thing about your film?
The worst thing about the film is it's not quite finished yet, because I'm planning a trilogy. Cork Keane was the first one. It's all daytime. Cork during the summer when it's looking at its most beautiful. Then I made Nullageen, which was the second one, which was Cork at Christmas at night time. And I'm planning a third one to complete the trilogy, but it's top secret. I can't say what it's about yet.
So it's a question of watch this space. Will it be ready for submission for next year's festival for Fastnet?
Hopefully.
Great. Thank you very much, Jason Keane. Thank you. So here we are in Skull with filmmaker Niall Owens. Niall, you have 2 films in the festival this year. Will you tell me about them?
I've Ink, which is a short, I suppose you could call it crime drama, although I don't like to use the term. It's a short drama between about 2 old friends who meet up after a long time, and the consequences of their meeting again, which don't end well for one of them. It was a small production that was designed even from the writing stage to be made on a very small budget and in a very, very small location, and a very small crew, about 5 people, and it turned out really well. We shot in colour to change to black and white, and the location really benefited the story. So all in all, it came together very well. I was very happy in the end with it.
And the other one then is Torn.
It's Torn. Torn is a production I did, which was funded by RTE through the Cork Film Centre, and that was a larger scale production that had a crew of about 16 and a cast of about 8, and that was shot in 2012 between Shirkin, Cork City and Kinsale. And yeah, I think it'll be shown on TV at some stage in the next couple of months anyway.
Brilliant. And so they've both been screened or so far?
Torn will be screened on Saturday. Ink was on Wednesday night.
And what was the reception like for Ink? Did it go down well?
It went fine. There was about 4 people there. It went great. I think all 4 loved it. I made sure to ask them walking out what they thought. But yeah, no, it went great. I was just happy to see it, and it's always nice to see it on the screen. But Skull is more for me about just seeing other filmmakers, seeing their films, and talking to people, and I enjoy it most for that.
Yeah, your films they have kind of common themes of kind of like masculinity and honour. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, I think it's that's fair. Masculinity, yeah. I mean, I do. I'm intrigued by the. I suppose I don't know if you call it the male relationship, but I suppose Ink would have been based on my friendships with my friends and how they've become not so much strained but distant, which was a theme within the story. And then Torn is very much about 2 brothers and a family dynamic, which again would be based on my relationship with my brother. So yeah, masculine would be fair. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty exact. Yeah.
And honour.
Honour. Yeah, I guess honour. Yeah, I think. I guess I would look at it as more responsibility. Definitely with Torn. Torn is more of a film about responsibility and taking responsibility, and I think even adults putting their own differences aside for the benefit of a child, which I think is an honourable thing. So yeah, honour, yes, very apt.
The festival itself down here, you're down for a couple of days. This is a real industry-friendly kind of an event, isn't it? Do you go to any of the things? There's workshops, there's funding clinics, stuff like that?
Generally I would. This year I haven't, only because I'm finishing another short that I directed last weekend. I have a 1-day filming to do next week, and I have to see what I'm missing. So unfortunately I have to work while I'm here and edit it. So I will go to some of the seminars tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the 1-to-1 funding, I think that's tomorrow, and also Jim Sheridan's talk along with Stephen Frears. So yeah, I'll definitely make it to them. Today I wasn't able to get to as much, unfortunately. But Fastnet's, it's a great festival. They always put on interesting events, and they always look to get interesting people. It makes it a very unique festival and a very filmmaker friendly festival.
Any plans for a feature?
A feature, I think every filmmaker's got a plan for a feature, so I will say yes, so I could be like everyone else. But yeah, definitely something. I'm working on something like everybody, and I'm hoping it'll go somewhere like everybody. And the only time will tell. I think even if it doesn't go anywhere, it's just a case of improving for the next one. It's about learning, I think, ultimately. And if this one doesn't come off, I'll go on to the next one and the next one, and we'll see what happens.
Great. Listen, thank you very much, Niall, and enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thank you. Thanks.